But here's the thing. I know that New York State reports, so Donald Trump's ass will be a statistic in a couple of weeks here.
We are looking at count 1, guilty. Count 2, guilty. Count 3, guilty. Count 4, guilty. Count 5, guilty. Count 6, guilty. Count 7, guilty. Count 8, guilty. Count 9, guilty. Count 10, guilty. Count 11, guilty. Count 12, guilty. Count 13, guilty. Count 14, guilty. Count 16, guilty. Count 17, guilty. Count 18, guilty. Count 19, guilty. Count 20.
All right, are y'all situated?
Yeah, how you doing?
All right, what's going on? What's your take?
Oh, I just wanted to hear what your response was to the fact that in 2021, the FBI changed the way they take their crime stats, and now a large portion of cities voluntary do not report it. So the numbers look.
What changed?
Like they're
What do
less.
they change?
What policy changed?
I'll give you the exact letters. Give me 5 seconds. Let's see.
No problem.
In May of 2021, the Justice Department launched the violent crime reduction strategy aimed, blah, blah, blah. Oh, sorry, I was looking at the wrong side. I was looking at NIBRS.
FBI.
The FBI transitioned to a new data collection system called NIBRS in 2021.
What does that have to do with the
Okay,
with
what
reporting?
changed exactly?
Well, reporting crime stats became voluntary at that point. So
It has been
many
voluntary.
cities. Well, I'm saying it got much worse since then.
No, 15 to 30% of predominantly rural agencies did not report to the crime stats to the FBI stats.
In many major cities.
Let's
in
see
that way
here.
as well.
1 second. Unlike data reported through the Uniform Crime Reports Program traditional summary reporting system, an aggregate monthly tally of crimes, NIBRS goes much deeper because of its ability to provide circumstances and context for crimes like location, time of day, and whether the incident was cleared. I'd say this is a lot more thorough than the way we were reporting it to the UCR.
Well, the people that do report might report more data points, but a majority, or not a majority, but a vast percentage of places do not even mention it. They don't report anything. There's many zeros on the crime stats.
Like what?
Well, it'll take me a moment. I don't have that one pulled up already, so I don't know if I could find that one quick enough to show you. But I was just curious what you had to say about the fact that more crimes have gone voluntarily unreported since Biden has taken office.
I don't know what that means. They're reported by the state.
Well, because the cities and the states, they report their statistics to the FBI. The FBI doesn't go necessarily searching for them. They get reported to them, and they take the data and collect it. So if a city had 10 murders one year and then they didn't report any murders the next year, well, it doesn't mean that none happened. It just means that none were reported.
Right,
But
but
you're
that
not
was
proving
more
that they're not reporting.
frequent among smaller agencies, predominantly rural agencies that are predominantly white.
And where are you seeing that? If you wanted me to
Yeah,
show
I
it
can
my
pull
way,
it up
can
for
you
you.
show it your
Awesome.
way?
Cool. Second. Right here. This is posted by Vera. This is just one of the, it's been talked about pretty extensively. So I just pulled up the first one. Of the 18,000 agencies in the country, only have submitted a full year's worth of data. Only 63% submitted any data at all.
Right. So
This
how
is
can
for
we trust any of
2021.
that data at all?
Now you're getting it. It has to be methodologically controlled for.
Right. So how could you say it's more or less at all?
That it's more or less what? Because we know that
How
smaller
could you claim?
I don't know why you're doing that. We know that it's predominantly smaller agencies that don't have resources to report. What, are you under an air fryer right now? What is going on?
Oh, sorry, I was near my stove. I didn't know that was. I can't hear it on my headphones. I didn't know that was an issue. Sorry.
So we know that reporting has not been a thing, but you need methodological controls. There's a lot of, this is the problem with crime stats, is that predominantly they're utilized in improper ways, like the 1350 crime stat.
So then why are you claiming that they're lower now if you agree that or maybe not agree because we both want to say it's in one direction or the other. But how could either one of us use them if
because
you're saying
typically
that they don't
speaking,
work?
right? Because typically speaking, there are enough reporting that you can get a decent aggregate across the board. If you want to
just
go
said
into
it was,
like,
what,
if you want to
63%?
go into
How's
like,
that accurate?
if you want to go into like specific areas, like if you wanted to go into Seattle or some specific area, then there can be issues. But typically speaking, researchers take the information, add methodological controls, remove confounders, and then publish data. That's typically how it works. But if you pull directly from the URC and you're trying to make some super over the top point, it's not likely to
What
be
methodological
beneficial.
controls were they using?
It depends on what methodological controls they decide to use based on the study. I don't know what you're getting at. Just
Give me an
because
example of one.
give you an example of one,
I've just never heard
you can
that
cross
specific-
reference you can cross reference like different demographics and what they tend to produce on average across the United States based on the agency. It's nobody's saying it's perfect. I don't know what you're getting at. But if it's something like a state and what the crime is in a state, sure. Yeah, you could rely on that. If it's the United States, generally speaking, you know it's going to be underreported, but it'll be relatively consistent because across the various states, there will be ones that are under and over reporting. Where you run into problems where you're doing it with things like race, because urban areas tend to report to a larger degree than rural areas do. You got your head in a microwave? What is that noise?
I'm in an empty room right now. I mean, it might be my blower 2 rooms over. I'm walking around. It might be airflow on my phone. I don't know. I can't get any further away from it now. Okay, well, if I was just curious what you had to say about that. I guess I don't have too much more to fight back on what you said because I don't know exactly what you're talking about. So I'll have to look into that more and get back at you later.
All right, take care.
All right.
But here's the thing. I know that New York State reports, so Donald Trump's ass will be a statistic in a couple of weeks here. Here's the thing. I really hate, like, I don't know. I really, like, there's so many confounders in crime stats that you can find a stat to benefit literally everything, anything that you think. The problem is that crime reporting stats in across Republican areas in various states, they always show the same thing, right? And we have, like, you can imagine if there's X amount, let's say there's 300 agencies in any given state, there will be varying degrees of reporting and not reporting, right? It gets confusing when you start talking about actual policies that affect these states versus ones that don't. For instance, if let's just say a random state, California, has significantly more police per capita, you would expect that there's going to be a higher degree of crime rate, right? You would expect that a theft in California in an urban area is going to produce more monetary loss than a theft in rural Bakersfield because the amount of money there is different, right? And that's especially true if you're comparing like a property crime in Louisiana. So in some instances, you're going to get like a higher report of property crime because for insurance purposes, they have to. And if you go to other areas in the country, it's less likely to be reported if they're in rural areas where they're predominantly incredibly poor. And you already don't want to deal with the police. There's already a distrust of the police. So there's that.